Today I will make turkey word art. For this activity, I will be using a piece of watercolor paper. I have a paintbrush, a pencil, and some watercolor pencils, but you can use whatever you would like to color this project in. I'm going to start by sketching a turkey, and to do that I'm going to start really by pushing lightly with my pencil and making kind of an egg shape, kind of leaning off to one side. I'm going to add a little line underneath to kind of create this triangular shape on the right. And then I'm going to add another line kind of hanging up here on the top right. That's going to be the tail feathers. It makes two diagonal lines to kind of show about where the turkey's legs are going, and some lines for the feet. And then I'm going to make a little oval to show about where I want the head and the beak. It's going to kind of curve down and up to connect to the body. And I'm going to make it a little bit wider so that it can support the weight of the head. I'm trying to keep my outline pretty basic. Now that I've got my lines in there, my guidelines, I'm going to go ahead and press a little bit harder with my pencil to make the actual outline of the turkey, kind of indicating the feathers, where the body starts and stops, kind of connecting some of these shapes to make lines. So hopefully you can kind of see the very basic outline of a turkey. Now, I want my words to fill in the turkey, and I see these feet here and think that this would be the perfect spot to put the letter R, because one foot could be the back of the R and the other foot could be the right part of the R, the front of the R. So I'm going to go ahead and start in the middle of my bird with the letter R. You don't always have to start at the beginning of your word. And I'm going to go ahead and use this R to make the turkey feet. And you can see I'm kind of filling up the space with my R, making the two limbs come down. And of course, I'm going to add the little feet here on the bottom. Obviously, an R doesn't have feet, but I'm making it work for my turkey shape here. So I've got just the very basic feet outline, and then I'm going to add the center part of the R as well. Kind of a funny looking R, but you can hopefully tell what letter of the alphabet it is. All right, now I need to fill up the rest of the turkey. So I'm going to work backwards to the beginning here. I need my U to fill up a really large spot here because I think my T is going to be kind of small. So I'm really going to try to make use of this space with my U. Notice that my R and my U do not touch. There should be a little bit of space between your letters. Then I'm going to try to make the top of the turkey here look somewhat like a T, just by bringing a little bit of the edge in here and kind of pulling it down towards the U. Notice my T and my U also do not touch. There's a little space between them. All right, T-U-R. Now for my last three letters. So my K just needs to fill up the space here, and I'm kind of thinking about where my E and my Y will fit in as well. So notice that the top of my K is bumpy to reflect the feathers of the turkey. And the bottom of my K is kind of smooth because that's where the feathers are still coming out of body. Next, I have to find a good spot for my E and my Y. And this is kind of a weird shape to make two letters fit in, but we're just going to make it work to the best of my ability here. I got to kind of keep the E a little bit narrow so that I do have room to make a Y. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of throw it in here and use the bumps of the tail feathers for the bottom part of my E. And then this last area needs to basically be filled in with the letter Y. So my Y is definitely going to be funny shaped, but hopefully we will be able to tell that it is the letter Y. I'm adding some of those bumps to continue the look of the feathers. All right, now I'm going to erase my guidelines. So the lines that I first drew in to make my turkey, because the only lines that I want now are the letters. So any extra lines along the top edge, the bottom edge, inside of the letters that were kind of helping me guide my drawing are now going to be erased so that there are no lines visible anymore, except for those that are around the letters. So the letter outlines are okay, but every other line should be erased. I'm going to make sure to take my time with this because once I start using watercolor, I cannot erase the lines anymore. So I want to go ahead and make sure all of my lines are erased now before I get to the watercolor step. Now I felt like there was too much space here in the E, between the E and the Y, so I'm going to make my E a little bit fatter to use up some of this extra space. So I'm just tweaking this letter quick because I want it to really fill up the area inside of my turkey. All right, I really like how it is looking. I'm getting rid of all of these extra lines so that I will be ready to start adding some color to my word. Now for this part, I am using watercolor pencil. You could use regular color pencils or markers or crayons or watercolor paint even, but I thought it would be fun to play around with watercolor pencils for this project. I have sped up the video to show you just quickly kind of what I was doing, but you obviously would be working at your own pace. So I decided to go ahead and outline the letters with my brown just to make sure that I covered up all of those pencil lines. I want it to be nice and solid all the way around to give it a very nice, strong outline. Then with these watercolor pencils, you don't have to color necessarily every last little part. You can kind of pick and choose areas to color, and then when you add water, it will kind of blend those colors together. So it's really nice mix of the colored pencil and watercolor techniques. So I'm outlining all of my letters with this brown watercolor pencil. It will kind of bleed into the letters when I add water. And then I'm going to go ahead and use this pencil to add some color inside of my letters. So I'm going to pick some areas that I want to be a little bit darker, maybe kind of along the outside edges of the letters, or maybe towards the bottom edges of the turkey. But I also do want to try to do a little bit of blending, so I will be adding some other colors as well. I have a lighter shade of brown in my set, and then I also want to get maybe some oranges to mix in with the browns, especially on the back tail feathers of the turkey. Now I'm going in with a lighter brown and just kind of filling in some of the other areas of these letters so that I will have a little bit of blending going on once I add the water. And then I wanted to kind of add a little bit of light brown into some of the tail feathers, along with a little bit brighter of an orange. So I'm mixing those together. You can see it, my coloring doesn't have to be perfect as long as I'm staying inside of my lines. All right, I am just adding clear water now and kind of scrubbing a little bit at the colored pencil so that it blends and mixes on my paper. At this point, I am being very careful to stay inside of my outline so that my letters are nice and crisp and clean looking. They're very neatly painted, and then they will have that effect of being the shape of the turkey. Now you can do this process with any word. Maybe think of a picture that you like, think of an animal, or it works well with food, things like that, and follow the same steps. So you can lightly sketch the outline of whatever it is you are drawing, and then try to fill that area with a word or words that describe that object. I'm going to go ahead and continue filling in my turkey so that I have the entire thing painted in. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Feel free to check out my channel, Elke Art, for more art tutorials.